Hello everyone, my name is Noura Shaker. I have a master's in special education and I'm currently pursuing certification in applied behavior analysis through Florida Institute of Technology. These presentations, which I chose to call ABA Definitions Made Easy, are basically going to be about ABA definitions and how to tackle them and how to remember them. Because I personally struggled with remembering these definitions. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks of how to remember them. I'm going to explain them. I'm going to give you lots and lots of examples, and I'm going to give you a quiz at the end of each presentation with multiple choice questions to test your fluency and to see if you how much of the presentation you understood. The language of instruction is going to be in English. It's not going to be in Arabic. It might disappoint some of you, but I just thought because our coursework is in English and because the test is going to be in English, whether you're pursuing your RBT, BCA, BA, or BCBA, that all these tests are going to be in English, and I think we need to work on building that fluency and learning how to answer questions in English. Today's presentation is going to be about operant conditioning. So let's start. First thing, operant conditioning. What is operant conditioning? I'm not going to go through the theory and who invented operant conditioning and how it came to become a theory. I'm just going to talk about the definition itself. What is operant conditioning? It is the way we learn. It is the method of learning that occurs through reinforcement and punishment of behavior. Simply put, we learn to perform certain behaviors more often because they result in rewards, while we learn to avoid or decrease other behaviors that result in punishment or adverse consequences. Let's look at the pictures at the bottom. The first one shows you a father and a child who's smiling and happy and he's raising his hands saying hooray. Most probably that child got an A on his exam and the father is praising him for that A. So most probably the child is going to increase and is going to keep getting that A in order to get the praise from the father. On the other hand, in the other picture, we have a child who's being pulled by the ear. We've all been through that. Well, why do you think is that happening? Well, maybe he said something bad and his father is punishing him by pulling his ear. Is the child going to say something bad again? Most probably not. This behavior is going to decrease because he is going to be afraid of that punishment as a consequence. So again, simply put, what is reinforcement and what is punishment that we just talked about? Reinforcement is used to help increase the probability that a behavior will occur in the future, while punishment is used to help to decrease the probability that a specific behavior will occur in the future. Again, reinforcement increases, remember that, reinforcement increases the probability of a behavior, while punishment decreases the probability of a behavior. Well, it does not stop at that. We have 4 types of operant conditioning. So it's not just reinforcement and punishment. We have positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment. Please note the letters on the side of each definition. So positive reinforcement is an R plus, negative reinforcement is an R minus, positive punishment is a P plus, and negative punishment is a P minus. R, of course, for reinforcement, while P is for punishment. The plus and minus sign we're going to talk about in a minute. So we just mentioned the 2 definitions, positive and negative, on the previous slide. What do they mean? What they do not mean, and this is what you really, really need to know, is that they do not mean good or bad. So positive is not good, while negative is not bad. They simply mean that we add or take away something. So with positive, which has the positive sign, it means that we add a favorable, which is a desired, or an unfavorable, an undesired stimulus to the environment right after the behavior occurs. While in negative, it means that we remove a favorable or an unfavorable stimulus from the environment right after the behavior occurs. What am I saying? What does that even mean? Here are some examples for us so we can understand this further. Okay, remember, we have 4 terms. We have reinforcement, which means increasing the probability of that behavior happening in the future. We have punishment, decreasing the probability of the behavior happening in the future. Positive means adding a stimulus to the environment, while negative means removing something from the environment. Okay, so now to the first term, positive reinforcement. Positive, add, reinforcement means increased behavior. Okay, so going to work to get paid. Going to work, the behavior is going to increase because because I'm going to get paid, because a favorable stimulus is added. Every time I go to work, I'm going to get paid. So in the future, I'm going to keep going to work. I'm going to keep increasing this behavior in order to receive that favorable stimulus, which is the money. Next example is Zaina finishes her homework and mom gives her a lot of praise. So the behavior of finishing the homework is going to keep increasing. It's going to increase. We want to increase Zaina finishing her homework. We want that behavior to keep repeating. So mom has added a stimulus, a favorable stimulus, something good to the environment, which is her praise, to make sure that Zaina keeps doing her homework and to make sure that in the future that behavior increases. Now, negative reinforcement. In our courses, our tutor always said, our professor always said, remember that negative reinforcement is relief. What does that mean? Negative reinforcement gives you, it relieves you from an aversive stimulus. So with negative reinforcement, you remove an aversive stimulus. So you take an aspirin when you have a headache. That headache is your aversive stimulus. So you take an aspirin every time you have a headache. The behavior of taking an aspirin is going to increase in order to remove the aversive stimulus. I hope this is clear. Again, negative reinforcement spells relief. You are relieving yourself from an aversive stimulus. Next one. Leaving the room every time my brother turns on his loud music. Here, what is being removed? The loud music, the aversive stimulus. What is my behavior? I leave the room. So every time my brother puts on his loud music, I'm going to leave the room. The behavior of me leaving the room is going to increase every time my brother puts on his loud music. I am relieving myself from an aversive situation. Hope this is clear. Terms: positive punishment and negative punishment. Punishment, I want to decrease the probability of the behavior happening in the future. Again, positive means I am adding something to the environment. So, Rania touches the hot stove and gets burned. The behavior is Rania touching a hot stove. What happens? She gets burned. An aversive or a bad stimulus, an unfavorable stimulus, is being added to the environment, which was the burn on her hand or whatever, the behavior of her touching the stove is going to decrease in the future because of that aversive stimulus that was added to the environment. Now, a person eats bad food and gets a stomach ache. We all know the restaurants that were the fast food chains that every time we eat from we get diarrhea, and this is why you stop eating from these chains. So the behavior is eating that food is going to decrease from that certain chain because the aversive stimulus, which is your stomach ache, is added. So this is positive punishment. The behavior of you eating from that chain or from that bad food is going to decrease in the future because of the aversive stimulus, which is your stomach ache. Negative punishment. Again, we are working on decreasing a behavior in the future, the probability of that behavior in the future. Negative means taking something away. So, Tariq kicks his brother, so mom takes away his iPad. Okay. The behavior is Tariq kicking his brother. We want to decrease that. So, we take away a stimulus, a favorable stimulus this time, and that is his iPad. So Tariq is going to stop kicking in the future, is going to stop kicking his brother in order for his iPad not to be taken away. So we are decreasing the behavior of Tariq kicking his brother in the future. Next example, an employee is not performing well at work and gets a pay cut. Okay, so the behavior is an employee not performing well. We want to decrease that. So what happens? We remove a favorable stimulus, which is we deduct from his salary. Next time, I'm sure that this employee is going to perform well in order not to get that salary cut. I hope so far we're on the same track, that you do understand what this is all about. Okay, now that we have finished the explanations and the examples, let's do some multiple choice questions to test our knowledge and to see if we actually understood the topic, the definitions or not. So, the first question. Every time I get in the car, I put my seatbelt on when I hear the loud beep. Is that positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, or negative punishment? Before answering the question, remember what is reinforcement, what is punishment, what is negative, and what is positive. Am I removing a favorable or an undesired stimuli? Am I increasing or decreasing the behavior? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think about it and to answer. And 10. And the answer is negative reinforcement. Why is it negative reinforcement? I am relieving myself from an unfavorable situation, which is that loud beep of the car when I get in it. So this is why I put the seatbelt on. The behavior of me putting the seatbelt on is going to be increased, which is reinforcement, in order to remove that loud beep, which is the aversive stimuli. Next question. Muhammad shouts in class and the teacher reprimands him in front of his classmates. Is that positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, or negative punishment? And the answer is positive punishment. Why? We want to the behavior of Muhammad shouting in class is going to decrease in the future because the teacher has added an aversive stimuli, which is the reprimand in front of his classmate to the environment. So punishment because shouting in class is going to decrease, and positive because we added the reprimands, which are an aversive stimuli. Next question. Dalia achieves her quota at work and gets the promotion. Positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, or negative punishment. Think about it. And the answer is positive reinforcement. Why? The behavior of Dalia achieving her quota is going to increase because a favorable stimuli, which is getting a promotion, has been added to the environment. So positive reinforcement. Last question. Hossein and Salma refuse to clean up their rooms, so mom resets the Wi-Fi password so they can no longer access the internet. Is that positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, or negative punishment? And the answer is negative punishment. The behavior of Hossein and Salma refusing to clean up their room is going to decrease in the future because mom has removed a favorable stimuli, which is the internet, accessing the internet from the environment. So that is negative punishment. Okay, that was all for today. I hope you got the concepts. I hope you understood them. If you have any questions, kindly type them and send them to me. And I hope to see you on our next presentation. Thank you. Bye-bye.